Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CrackGradeB and welcome to the CAIIB session 2024. Again, so we'll be continuing with our compliance function module, and in the past two sessions we've talked about compliance function as well as risk-based internal audit framework as well. And in this session we'll be talking about compliance function, that too particularly focusing on NBFC part. In general, we've seen overall banking, scheduled commercial banks, overall banks mein kya scene hai, and then now we will be discussing about NBFCs, and in the later stages we'll also discuss about urban cooperative banks as well. Okay, so again, before starting with the questions, let's discuss about the broad context in which we are doing these things. As all of you understand, compliance function के अंदर क्या क्या चीजें आ जाती हैं. The broad idea under the compliance function is basically everything related to not only that NBFC is getting all the compliances that they need to follow, having a system for implementation of such compliances, having punitive aspects of these compliances, and lastly also having an internal audit framework which is risk based, which we anyways discussed in the previous class, that how risk based internal audit is not related to identification or just what is risk. It is more of related to focusing on systems that are managing your risks. For example, risk identification, risk mitigation, जो भी आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर कर रहा है, क्या वो अपना काम सही से कर रहे हैं, that is the responsibility of whoever is doing risk based internal audit. Obviously it's a more specific niche type of internal audit rather than the normal internal audit which anyways happens in all the organization, okay, which is just a replica of external audit. So all these things, if we focus primarily in context of NBFCs, is what we're gonna deal in today's 10 or 11 odd questions. Again, so what can you expect from such questions? Again, all these things, compliances related to NBFCs, what were there or what are there? What are the most primary compliance that NBFCs have to follow, especially in the recent time period which RBI gave us, which is the scale based regulation or scale based classification of different NBFCs, and depending upon in which scale a particular NBFC will be coming, the regulation with respect to that particular NBFC will keep on changing. So that's what we discussed in the previous sessions also. Let's have a little bit of understanding with respect to what exactly is scale based regulation. So what Reserve Bank of India did, it classified NBFCs into 4 different layers. The first thing being base layer, isn't it? Second being middle layer. What do you think third and fourth layer is? Anyone? Anybody wants to try? What do you think is the correct answer? All of you should try this. Very simple. सिंपल सा है ना. देखिए, बेस, मिडल, अपर layer, and then we also have top layer. So in top layer, what do you think, how many NBFCs are there in top layer? Top layer वाले सेक्शन में कितने NBFCs होंगे, आपको क्या लगता है? Yes, correct. How many NBFCs are there in top layer? What do you think? Or what RBI is proposing in context of then how many NBFCs should be there in top layer? Ideally, Reserve Bank of India says that there should be 0, because we do not want any NBFC to become so much systematically important that it impacts the whole financial as well as the economic system. So all the top-notch NBFCs will probably be in upper layer with respect to all those NBFCs that are having huge amount of assets. तो फिर upper layer में कितने NBFCs हैं? As of now, 15. Correct. And then we have middle layer as well as base layer, which have different aspects. So this is the most primary regulation that all the NBFCs need to comply with. So most of the questions related to CAIIB will directly come from circulars only. So this is what the circular we'll be doing in today's session, and we'll try to do questions from that. So this is the first question for you. What do you think is the correct answer? Which among the following will not be included in the base layer of scale-based regulation for NBFCs? A very simple question. Please try to do this. What do you think is the correct answer? In the options, we have NBFC, peer-to-peer lending, account aggregator, non-operative financial holding company. If you see clearly, the correct answer would be E, because it is non-deposit taking NBFCs having asset size below 1000 crores, that is in the base layer, whereas any type of deposit taking NBFCs is not in the base layer, rather in the middle layer. You understand this? Okay, so that's why this option becomes incorrect, and that's why it becomes the correct answer, because the question asks you which of the following will not be included. So this is the list of non-operative financial holding company, account aggregators, P2P lending, and non-deposit taking NBFCs below 1000 crores assets. Chaliye. And this is the middle layer, all deposit taking NBFCs, irrespective of asset size. Non-deposit more than 1000 crores, and NBFCs undertaking such activities: primary dealers, infrastructure debt fund, core investment companies, housing finance companies. Chaliye. Next is, how many companies are there in the upper layer of the scale-based regulation for NBFCs? This is the question that we've done recently. अभी हम लोगों ने discuss किया. What do you think is the correct answer? Just tell me. Easy question. 15th is the correct answer, isn't it? Chaliye. Next question. So under the scale-based regulation, regulatory minimum net owned fund for NBFC investment as well as credit companies shall be increased to 10 crore by what year? So if you understand all the, in the scale-based regulation, obviously there was a guided path provided to all these NBFCs to achieve what is required in terms of regulation. So 10 crore ka minimum net owned fund particularly to these companies should be achieved by what year, what time period? What do you think is the correct answer? So most of the things are factual in nature only. So if you have a clear structure in mind, then you will be able to much better remember these things. अगर आप ट्री बना के चलेंगे, that NBFC scale based regulation की बात कर रहे हैं, we have these 4 layers के अंदर we'll be talking about asset size classification, we'll be talking about net owned funds or any other things. If you make tree like this, then you'll be able to much better remember these factual details as well. So the third answer is March 31st, 2027. So correct, Shreya. Well done. Okay, so this is the correct answer. By March 31st, 2027, the minimum net owned fund of these NBFCs will be 10 crores. What about this question? According to the scale-based regulation for P2P account aggregator as well as no public funds, which is obviously the base layer, NBFCs, the net owned fund shall continue to be how much? What do you think? Again, a simple question. The correct answer is B, 2 crores. Okay, so these are the things that you need to remember. P2P के केस में बेस लेयर वाली जो NBFCs है उनका minimum net owned fund continues to be 2 crores only. So 2 crore is the correct answer. चलिए next question. According to the scale-based regulation, particularly for NBFCs, infrastructure finance companies, infrastructure debt fund NBFCs, the net owned fund requirement shall be how much? तो इसमें बेसिकली आइडिया अगर आप लेके चलो नेट ओन्ड फंड और एसेट्स के बीच में डिफरेंस मोस्टली इन हंड्रेड्स, इट्स मोस्टली इन थाउजेंड्स, तो उस हिसाब से यू कैन थिंक इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ दैट. What do you think probably will be the correct answer? Is it 30, 300, 3000? So let's check what's the correct answer. The correct answer is C, 300 crores. ठीक है, तो assets ये नॉर्मली बेसिक इक्वेशन लेके चलते हैं. ठीक है, तो नेट ओन फंड्स की रिक्वायरमेंट एनीवेज विल बी मच लोअर कंपेयर टू द एसेट्स which they are holding. So C, 300 crores is the correct answer, particularly in case of infrastructure finance companies or infrastructure debt fund NBFCs. Okay, so these are the NBFCs that collect funds and then put it in various infrastructure companies or provide finance for infrastructure projects. Similarly, another type of NBFC which is also known as NBFC factors, investment core companies, microfinance. The regulatory minimum net owned fund for such kind of NBFCs shall be increased to how much? Yes, sure. C was the correct answer for the previous one. What do you think is the correct answer for 6? See, every different type of NBFCs you need to be aware about in terms of its net owned fund and its eligibility in context of its assets. 1000 crore के नीचे है, non-deposit taking है, then it will be in the base layer. And if it is more than 1000 crores, even if it is non-deposit, then it will be in the middle layer. Sorry, yes, middle layer. So let's check. Yes, A is the correct answer. 10 crores is the minimum net owned fund requirement for such type of companies. So we have seen base layer wali jo companies, account aggregators having 2 crores net owned fund. Then we saw these ICC factors having 10 crores net owned fund. And lastly, we also seen infrastructure debt fund, these big companies having net owned fund of 300 crores. तो इस तरीके से you can remember these things also. Next question, according to Reserve Bank of India, there should be a ceiling of how much amount per borrower for financing subscription to IPO. Obviously, NBFCs can fix more conservative limits, but what should be the ceiling per borrower? What can you think is the correct answer? See, the correct answer over here is 1 crore. Okay, so basically 1 crore की limit है. The maximum amount an NBFC can finance IPO for a particular borrower. अब उसमें भी this is the limit provided by the Reserve Bank of India, but it also allows flexibility to NBFCs to put more conservative limits like कि 50 lakh उन्होंने रख दिया या फिर let's say 80 lakhs रख दिया, but it should not be more than 1 CR. Is this clear? चलिए. Next is, in order to enhance the quality of regulatory capital, the NBFC upper layer shall maintain common equity tier capital of at least how much percentage of risk weighted assets? If you remember the requirement of CRAR, then you will be able to understand or at least go nearby the CET1 capital. What do you think is the correct answer for this? The correct answer is 9%. 9% इसका वो है, ठीक है. Overall, most of the things that we've seen in context of CRAR requirement and other requirements वो nearby 15% के आसपास पहुंच चुके हैं. Nevertheless, let's try to do this question. NBFCs shall report credit information including classification of an account to CRILC on all borrowers having aggregate exposure of how much amount and above with them. See this, I hope all of you must have done the same thing when you were doing July circulars. अगर July circulars आप लोगों ने कर रखे हैं RBI circulars, तो आप लोगों को ये वाला फिगर भी याद होगा. What do you think is the correct answer over here? Or at least take a guess. यहाँ पर अपने एजुकेटेड गेस की वैलिडिटी चेक कर लीजिए आप लोग. What is the exposure threshold beyond which it necessarily have to report it to CRILC? What do you think is the correct answer for this? Anyways, a simple question that was also there in your July circulars as well. See, the correct answer is yes. Yes, Shreya, correct. E 5 crores, है ना? उस समय भी हम लोगों ने पढ़ा था कि 5 करोड़ से ज्यादा अगर आपका एक्सपोजर है, then you need to tell to CRILC with respect to all the information with respect to that loan, उसकी borrower की details, उस account में अगर आपने कोई changes किए, whether it's been converted into NPA or any other substandard assets as well. So that all information needs to be sent to CRILC so that RBI is aware कि हो क्या रहा है. Is this clear? Any confusion? Chaliye, now let's move on to the next question, which is NBFCs with asset size of how much and above is required to appoint audit firm as its statutory audit fulfilling the eligibility norms. तो स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट वाला जब कंडीशन प्रोविजन आप कितना एसेट साइज आपका होना चाहिए तभी आपके ऊपर एप्लीकेबल है. व्हाट डू यू थिंक इज द करेक्ट आंसर ओवर हियर? अगेन ऑल दीज थिंग्स एनीवेज यू हैव ऑलरेडी डन इन योर आरबीआई प्रिपरेशन एज वेल. टॉप 50 सर्कुलर्स अगर आप लोगों ने किए हुए हैं then you could easily solve this question. What do you think is the correct answer? See, basic things are कि if you understand that 1000 crores वाला scene हुआ तो that it will go below base layer. अगर उसके ऊपर हुआ then it will go into middle layer. But is it like कि all middle layers need to appoint a statutory audit or what? क्या केवल 1000 crore ही है या फिर उससे ऊपर है? So naturally a little bit more than that will be the correct answer. So this threshold becomes a clear indication for you that can help you identify the NBFCs which are in the base layer or in middle layer. तो जो middle layer में पहुंच चुके हैं, they necessarily have to appoint an audit firm as a statutory auditor. है ना? I hope this is clear. चलिए, let's do the last question of today. What do you think is the correct answer for this question? Let's read the question. Which among the following is not correct with regards to RBI scale-based regulation for NBFCs? Now read all the statements carefully. You can easily do this question if you understand. Basically, examiner क्या करता है वो थोड़ी चीजें tweak कर देता है. So at least one of the directors shall have a relevant experience of having worked in a bank if they are appointed in an NBFC. NBFCs shall maintain a CRAR requirement of 15%. There shall be a ceiling of 1 crore per borrower, which obviously is correct because you've just seen over there. तो आपके लिए तो ये statement पहले से ही eliminate हो गया because incorrect पूछा हुआ है. NBFCs with asset size of 100 crores and above, while lending against the collateral, shall maintain a LTV of 50%. Or lastly, NBFCs with 20 and more branches are mandated to adopt core banking solution. तो ये statement तो eliminate हो गया. Now you need to identify among these 4 options what do you think is the incorrect answer or incorrect statement. Try and do this question. Last question for today. What do you think? Which statement for you looks like a little bit incorrect? Or if you would have to choose any of the option amongst all these A, B, D and E, what would you choose? See, the correct answer for this question is, or rather the incorrect statement amongst all them is the last statement, E, because it is not the NBFCs with 20 and more branches, rather NBFCs with 10 or more branches are needed to adopt core banking solution so that they get integrated within the whole financial system effectively. Okay, is this clear? Any confusion? 10 and more branches to adopt core banking solutions. अभी तक किसी को कोई दिक्कत किसी भी चीज में? So this is all for today from my side. You'll get all these MCQs in the CAIIB course that you can get from CrackGradeB.com. Just go over there, you'll be able to find it. Sure, loan to value ratio is basically how much percentage, for example, any of the asset or any of the thing that you are trying to buy, how much percentage value of the price of that asset the bank is providing loan for you. For example, you're buying a land of rupees 5 lakh. Okay, and the bank is ready to give you loan of 4 lakh rupees. So your loan to value ratio will be 4/5 or rather 80%. Is this clear? Sure, I didn't give the phase 2 of RBI. Basically, with respect to RBI examination, all you need to understand is that no matter how much difficulty is there, primarily it is same for everyone. And also, it tests your temperament over there and your understanding with respect to questions. तो ऑब्जेक्टिव में मोस्टली लोगों के गलत हुए होंगे, इनकेस अगर गलत हुए होंगे, बट योर नॉलेज was very much critical in your descriptive answers. Okay, because it was new for everybody as well. Okay, and even for all those aspirants who gave this exam before, उन सब के लिए भी नया था. So it was a great leveler for everyone. Okay, all that matters is your best performance over there. Chaliye. Thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, keep revising these CAIIB MCQs. Thank you.